Life often presents us with challenges that require us to look inward and reflect on our true desires, our character, and the ways in which we navigate relationships and societal expectations. One of the most interesting dynamics that shapes how people interact with the world is the spectrum of agreeableness and disagreeableness. These traits can determine how an individual pursues their ambitions, relates to others, and even how they form their identity. The tension between the desire to please and the need to assert oneself is particularly prominent in the discussion of what makes some people more successful or socially well-adjusted than others. Through examining these dynamics, we can uncover the importance of knowing oneself, negotiating on one's own behalf, and striving to balance kindness with assertiveness. Understanding what we want in life is crucial, but this can be particularly challenging for agreeable individuals. Unlike their disagreeable counterparts, who often have a clear sense of direction and aren't afraid to voice their needs, highly agreeable people tend to prioritize others to the extent that their own desires become obscured. They get used to focusing on what others need, attempting to keep everyone comfortable, and as a result, may struggle to recognize or articulate their own ambitions. This tendency has both benefits and drawbacks, depending on the context. For instance, agreeableness can be advantageous in environments where cooperation and empathy are essential. It creates harmonious relationships and minimizes conflict, a critical trait when dealing with vulnerable individuals, like infants, who need nurturing and care. However, this trait becomes a liability when the context demands assertiveness, especially in career pursuits where individuals need to advocate for themselves. Agreeable people might find it difficult to excel in competitive environments, simply because they are less likely to prioritize their own needs over others. Disagreeable individuals, on the other hand, have an inherent advantage when it comes to forging a successful career. They are more likely to speak up, demand what they believe they deserve, and push back against situations that don't serve their interests. This makes them more effective negotiators for their own benefit. However, this isn't to say that disagreeableness is inherently good. It's a double-edged sword. It makes individuals more susceptible to conflict, which can lead to social isolation or even imprisonment, especially when it becomes callousness. The difference in the levels of agreeableness between men and women is not particularly significant on average. However, when we look at the extremes, there is a noticeable trend. The most agreeable people tend to be women, while the most disagreeable are men. This distinction plays a significant role in shaping life outcomes. For example, most individuals who end up in prison are men, and a major predictor of criminal behavior is a low level of agreeableness, which results in an inability to cooperate and a propensity towards selfish or harmful behavior. The contrast between agreeableness and disagreeableness can be likened to a bargaining game. In this scenario, agreeable individuals are more likely to bargain on behalf of others rather than themselves, often at their own expense. They lean towards fairness or even sacrifice, while disagreeable individuals prioritize their own gains. This dynamic means that agreeable people have to be particularly careful not to be exploited, as they are naturally inclined to put others' needs before their own. One reason agreeable people are vulnerable to exploitation is that their behavior is somewhat wired for caregiving, a trait especially useful when dealing with children. The instinct to keep the peace and avoid conflict works well in the context of nurturing infants, where safety and stability are crucial. However, in the broader world, this instinct can lead to self-neglect and being taken advantage of. This is why many agreeable individuals seek therapy, often receiving what is called assertiveness training. This training isn't about being aggressive. Rather, it's about learning how to stand up for oneself and voice personal needs. A key piece of advice for agreeable individuals is to express their true thoughts, even when those thoughts are uncomfortable or may seem harsh. It's essential to bring those suppressed thoughts to the surface, as they often contain truths that need to be communicated. Agreeable people have a natural aversion to conflict, preferring to smooth the waters. This behavior is understandable given their inclination to avoid emotional turbulence, particularly in situations involving vulnerable individuals. However, avoiding necessary conflict is not a sustainable long-term strategy. Many issues require confrontation and honest discussion to be resolved effectively. A well-socialized, disagreeable person can be a formidable force. Such individuals, once they learn how to channel their disagreeableness productively, can overcome obstacles with remarkable tenacity. Parenting plays a crucial role here. The goal is to socialize disagreeable children by the age of 4, making them socially desirable while retaining their assertive nature. Failure to do so often results in rejection, both by parents and society, which can set a child on a path towards long-term antisocial behavior. Raising a child who is neither overly compliant nor overly aggressive is challenging but essential. The objective is to foster a balance, a child who can interact well with others, who is neither a horrible little monster nor an overly passive bystander. Proper socialization allows children to integrate into peer groups where they can continue to develop essential social skills. If a child fails to integrate early, they risk being left behind, which can have devastating consequences for their social and emotional development. The difference between a child who is accepted by peers and one who is not can determine whether they grow up feeling socially competent or alienated. The trajectory of male development, in particular, often includes phases of heightened aggression, especially during adolescence when testosterone levels surge. This increase in aggression aligns with the peak of creativity and risk-taking behaviors, which explains why criminal activity is most common among young men aged 16 to 25. Interestingly, as men age and take on more responsibilities, such as careers, partnerships, and family, their testosterone levels and, consequently, their aggressive tendencies begin to decline. This shift facilitates a transition from reckless behavior to a more stable and constructive lifestyle. The interplay between agreeableness and aggression can be seen in many animals, not just humans. In solitary predators like male bears, there is no role for agreeableness. The males are entirely detached from the nurturing process and may even pose a threat to their offspring. In contrast, humans must navigate both predatory aggression and communal caregiving, balancing these competing instincts to live harmoniously in society. One of the most valuable lessons we can learn is the importance of observing and learning from those who are different from us. For an introverted person, watching and learning from an extroverted individual can provide insights into behaviors that may not come naturally, but are nonetheless valuable. The same principle applies to agreeable and disagreeable individuals. Disagreeable people can benefit from practicing small acts of kindness, thereby developing a capacity for empathy that may be underutilized. It's about expanding one's behavioral repertoire, waking up dormant capacities and integrating them into daily life. Personal development often involves finding the right balance between embracing one's natural temperament and pushing oneself to develop traits that may not come as easily. For instance, an extrovert might need to learn to listen more, while an introvert could benefit from practicing public speaking. Agreeable people need to learn how to be assertive to avoid being taken advantage of, while disagreeable individuals should work on cultivating empathy to avoid alienating others. Similarly, those who are highly conscientious might need to learn to relax, whereas those who are less conscientious might need to develop more discipline and organization. In relationships, understanding temperamental differences is crucial. Partners who are too dissimilar in key traits, such as introversion versus extroversion or orderliness versus disorderliness, may struggle to find common ground. While diversity in personality can enrich a relationship, it also poses challenges that require careful negotiation and mutual understanding. Striking the right balance between similarity and difference can help couples build a stronger, more harmonious partnership. Moreover, agreeableness and disagreeableness are not just personality traits. They shape our experiences and how we perceive the world around us. Agreeable individuals, for example, often experience the world as a place where maintaining harmony and avoiding confrontation are paramount. They may avoid expressing dissatisfaction or voicing disagreement to keep relationships peaceful, even when this comes at the cost of their own needs. This avoidance can lead to bottled-up resentment or even burnout, as they continuously put others' needs before their own. For disagreeable individuals, the world is often viewed as a place of competition, where asserting dominance and achieving personal goals are key. This perspective drives them to take action and make their presence known, which can be an advantage in competitive environments such as the workplace. However, it also means that they may struggle to build and maintain positive relationships, as their assertiveness can come off as arrogance or a lack of concern for others. The key for both types of individuals lies in self-awareness and adaptability. Agreeable people need to recognize when their instinct to avoid conflict is hindering their progress or well-being. Learning to say no, set boundaries, and advocate for their own interests are critical skills that can help them avoid being taken advantage of and ensure their needs are met. Conversely, disagreeable individuals need to understand the value of cooperation and empathy. By learning to listen actively, show appreciation, and engage in acts of kindness, they can foster better relationships and mitigate the negative impacts of their natural assertiveness. A helpful exercise for agreeable individuals is to practice assertiveness in small, manageable steps. This might involve expressing a preference when asked for an opinion or stating a need clearly in a low-stakes situation. Over time, these small acts can build confidence and make it easier to assert oneself in more challenging circumstances. Similarly, disagreeable individuals can benefit from setting aside time to consider others' perspectives, perhaps by volunteering or engaging in activities that require teamwork and cooperation. These experiences can help develop a greater sense of empathy and improve interpersonal relationships. In the workplace, understanding where one falls on the agreeableness-disagreeableness spectrum can also be incredibly useful. Agreeable individuals often excel in roles that require teamwork, customer service, or caregiving, as they are naturally inclined to be considerate and supportive. However, they may struggle in positions that require negotiation, assertiveness, or leadership, unless they consciously work on developing these skills. Disagreeable individuals, on the other hand, often thrive in roles that require negotiation, decision-making, or leadership, as they are not afraid to make tough calls or push for what they want. But they may need to work on their teamwork skills and ensure they do not alienate their colleagues. The concept of social desirability also ties into the discussion of agreeableness and disagreeableness. Social desirability refers to behaviors that are valued and rewarded by society, such as politeness, cooperation, and empathy. Agreeable individuals are often viewed as more socially desirable because they embody these traits. However, there are situations where disagreeableness becomes socially desirable, such as when a leader needs to make a tough decision, or when someone needs to advocate fiercely for their rights or the rights of others. The challenge is to develop the flexibility to shift between these modes of behavior as the situation demands. Another interesting aspect of agreeableness is how it relates to mental health. Agreeable individuals, due to their tendency to internalize problems and avoid conflict, may be more prone to anxiety and depression, especially if they feel their needs are consistently unmet. The desire to maintain harmony can lead them to suppress negative emotions, which over time can take a toll on their mental health. Disagreeable individuals, while less likely to internalize their problems, may experience issues related to social isolation or conflict. Their tendency to push others away or dominate social interactions can lead to strained relationships and a lack of social support, which are crucial factors in overall well-being. Finding a balance between agreeableness and disagreeableness is not just about personal success or career advancement, it is also about achieving emotional well-being. Both traits have their place, and understanding when to lean into one or the other can lead to more fulfilling relationships, a more rewarding career, and better mental health. For instance, an agreeable person might need to adopt a more disagreeable stance when negotiating a salary or defending their boundaries, while a disagreeable person might benefit from adopting a more agreeable approach when trying to build a meaningful connection with a partner or a friend. Ultimately, the journey towards self-improvement requires us to look at our own traits honestly and determine where we might need to grow. It's not about changing who we are at our core, but about developing the skills and behaviors that allow us to navigate the complexities of life more effectively. For agreeable individuals, this might mean learning to be comfortable with confrontation and advocating for themselves. For disagreeable individuals, it might mean learning to prioritize others' needs and recognize the value of cooperation. Both paths require courage, self-awareness, and a willingness to step outside of one's comfort zone. In conclusion, the balance between agreeableness and disagreeableness is a critical factor in shaping who we are and how we relate to the world. Both traits have their strengths and weaknesses, and the key to a fulfilling life often lies in understanding where we fall on this spectrum and how we can adapt. Agreeable individuals must learn to assert themselves and protect their own interests, while disagreeable people need to cultivate empathy and cooperation. By recognizing these dynamics, we can better navigate our personal and professional lives, ensuring that we are neither overly accommodating nor unnecessarily combative. The journey to self-improvement is about embracing our inherent tendencies, while striving to develop the skills that make us more adaptable, resilient, and well-rounded individuals. Life is a constant negotiation between our natural tendencies and the demands of the world around us. By understanding our place on the spectrum of agreeableness, we can take deliberate steps to grow and adapt, ensuring that we are well-equipped to handle the challenges that come our way. Whether it's learning to speak up for oneself or practicing empathy, the work we put into balancing these traits is what ultimately allows us to lead richer, more meaningful lives.